Bad news. Bad news. It would seem that the MMO, the Marvel MMO that the Daybreak were working on, has been cancelled. Let's talk about it. So it would seem that the Daybreak game has cancelled their Marvel MMO. It's pretty much the second Marvel MMO they've cancelled in the past 5 years. It's hard to know exactly what happened. We'll speculate a bit about that a bit later. So the title was originally announced last November. Basically, there was the investors meeting, and in the investors meeting, it was mentioned that Daybreak were working on a Marvel MMO. Jack Emmett was the one who was spearheading the project at the time. Sadly, Jack Emmett left Daybreak not too long ago. So maybe he left because the project wasn't going anywhere, or the project was cancelled because he left. From what I understand, Jack left to start his own studio, and he brought at least a handful of DCO devs with him. So that might be why what killed the project. It's too early to tell. At this point, take this with a huge grain of salt. This is pretty much a speculation right now. But there's quite a few articles talking about it. I'll put a link to a few of those articles in the description down below. So Daybreak pretty much just announced that the project was cancelled. Here's pretty much what they had to say about it. So AG7 today announced it will be discontinuing the development of the Marvel project at Daybreak Games, based on the reevaluation of the development risk profile, size of the investment, and the long-term product portfolio strategy for the group. The board has decided to change the development priorities and reallocations of resources within the group to focus on alternative long-term projects. AG7 had planned to invest £40.4 million, SEK 500 million. I have no idea what that is supposed to be. Roughly, it's from what I understand, it was like $50.5 million into the project. And into the project, and this money will now be divided and interjected into smaller projects. The press release mentions a planned upgrade to Lord of the Rings Online and DC Universe Online. Basically, from what I understand, they had $50.5 million they were planning to put into the Marvel game. Apparently, they're going to split that money between the Lord of the Rings Online and DC Universe Online. For quite some time, people had been waiting and waiting for the graphic update for DC Universe Online. It could be that part of that 50 million will be used for the graphic update for DC Universe Online. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see to know for sure. For those who do not know, AG7 owns Daybreak Studios, which also owns DC Universe Online. So basically, Daybreak were already working on DC Universe Online, and somehow they decided they wanted to work also on a Marvel Universe Online type of game. But a lot of people were not too happy about that because they thought they were pretty much splitting their focus and that DC Universe Online was suffering because they were focusing on the Marvel game. Now that the Marvel game has been cancelled, and now that we know that they are going to take some of the funds that were supposed to go for the Marvel game and they're going to inject that into DC Universe Online, some people think that this will allow Daybreak to focus a bit more on DC Universe Online and also inject that money into DC Universe Online to make the long-awaited graphic update for DC Universe Online. Also, from what we understand, Crystal Dynamics, which are behind the Marvel Avengers game and the Guardians of the Galaxy game, lost roughly $200 million on those games. So that might be one of the reasons why Daybreak decided not to focus on a Marvel game. They might be thinking that maybe the market won't be able to support such a game. I don't really know at this point. I guess as time goes by, we'll know a bit more about that. But for Crystal Dynamics, from what I understand, at some point there were articles saying that they lost 50 million on the Avengers game. But then at some point, the articles were saying that they lost 60 million on the Avengers game. From what I understand, Crystal Dynamics are still trying to salvage the Marvel game by adding not really content, but new costumes. And even then, keeping the game running seems to be at a loss at this point. So you have to wonder if maybe they're not going to pull the plug on the Avengers game at some point if they keep on losing money. But from what I understand, they lost at least $200 million on the Avengers game and the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Some people were saying they lost $300 million. I haven't seen any official numbers on that, so take that with a grain of salt. That's pretty much rumors at this point. But we did see articles about how the Marvel games did lose $200 million. And part of that is probably is faulted to Marvel. There's a lot of, let's say, not so good decisions that have been made, especially with the Avengers game. that were pretty much mandated by Marvel. So you have to wonder also, maybe the relationship also with Marvel between the EG7 and Marvel, maybe it wasn't the best of relationships. Maybe Marvel were asking for things that EG7 knew would be not very good for the game, so maybe that's why they pulled out. Or again, it could just be that Jack Emmett was at the head of the Marvel game, and seeing how Jack Emmett is leaving, has left Daybreak Studios, maybe he brought the Marvel game with him. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see to find out. If we ever get more information about that, I'll try to let you guys know about it. But right now, this is pretty much what we know. So I will put the link to various articles in the description down below if you guys want to see exactly what this is all about. But sadly, the bad news is that for all of you guys who were waiting and waiting for a Marvel MMO type of game, it seems that you're gonna have to wait some more because the one that Daybreak were working on has been cancelled. It's sad, but it happens.